Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk briefly about what's going on in chapter one. Remember that I always try to break down important topics on separate videos, so definitely check out week one for important topics like opportunity cost that I recorded separately. All right. So let's get it started. So in chapter one and chapter two, I'm going to jump from one topic to another topic because remember that we have lots of definition and terminologies in these two chapters. So just bear me um, we are not really focused on one specific topic. We're just trying to make us ready basically to understand future chapters. So we need to know some of the definitions um, in these two chapters. So I'm just going to jump from one topic to another topic, okay, in both chapters one and two. All right. And what you will see actually um, in my lecture notes might be a little bit different from yours. But in terms of like definitions and important concepts, you can find them in the lecture note that I posted also for you. Probably might have like some examples that you might not find in the lecture notes. You can take notes, you can pause. So mine are slightly different from yours, okay? But in terms of the topics that we have to cover, they're going to be exactly the same. Let's get started. So, important thing that we're going to cover in this chapter is about why we study economics, what we mean by making choices, what we mean by cost, benefit, opportunity cost, marginal benefit. Um, and some other important models that we have at the end of this chapter that are called budget line and PPC or production possibilities model that we're going to discuss. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to discuss is why we study economics. Okay, and the reason that we study economics is because of the limited resources that we have. Okay, I just ask a simple question here that tell me some of the stuff that you like to buy for your house or for your room. And you can come up, of course, with a long list of things that you like to purchase for your apartment, for your house, for your bedroom, if you are living in a dorm or something. Um, and you can come up with many different things. Let's just put like some stuff here, like groceries, I don't know, the TV, a new mattress, coffee maker, things like that. But there are thousands of things that you like to purchase, right? But you have limited income, you have limited budget to spend, right? Or there are so many things that you like to do in 24 hours, but your time is scarce. So you have limited a number of hours to finish the things that you have to do for your day, right? So the time is scarce, your budget, the money that you want to spend on buying different goods and services is scarce, right? If you are a producer, the natural resources that you purchase and you have to purchase and produce different goods and services is scarce. The number of workers you can hire is scarce. Your capital is scarce, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a consumer, if you are a producer, you're a politician, you're constantly facing with limited sources that you need. It's either your time, it's either your money, right? So it's either the natural resources that you are going to use, the factors of production, as we call them in economics, are all scarce, right? So the reason that we study economic actually is scarcity, because you are not able to purchase all those things for your house. You are not able to hire as many workers as you want if you are a producer, because you have limited resources, you have limited income. So you are basically facing with the scarcity. Scarcity is a situation where your resources are limited, but of course, as human beings, there are thousands of things that you like to purchase. There's so many things you like to do in 24 hours. As a producer, there are thousands of goods and services that you like to produce because you love money, right? You are facing with scarcity. Whenever we face with the scarcity, we have to make a choice because you are not able to purchase the TV, mattress, brand new coffee maker, and new couch at the same time, probably. If you have the money, of course, that's fine. But most of us do not have the money right away, right? You can, of course, you might say, oh, I'm going to use my credit card. Yeah, you can, but you're creating debt for yourself, a debt that you have to pay in the future. So you do not have the money when you're using your credit card. Remember that credit card is going to create a debt for you, future debt. Anyhow, um, I was distracted with the text message that I got. Sorry. So you are facing with a scarcity, right? You want to buy so many things, but you can't because you do not have enough money, right? So what are you going to do? You have to choose. Okay, you're going to prioritize and you can say, okay, I'm going to purchase the TV because I really need one this month. Then I'm going to save my money and purchase a brand new couch probably next month, right? So, or my fridge is empty, so I'm going to purchase, food, um, and I'm going to save up for the other stuff that I want to purchase for my house, right? So you are going to deal with this scarcity by making choices. We call actually these choices that you make in economics rational choices because we believe that people are rational, so they're going to make rational choices. And remember, the result of our decisions and the choices that we make will be different because we have different priorities, we have different incentives. So our decisions at the end of the day will be different. I might need a mattress ASAP. You might need a coffee maker right now. So our priorities, our choices will be different at the end of the day, right? So whenever we say making choices, as I mentioned, we mean making rational choices. What does it mean? It means that you are going to compare the costs and benefits of your actions, okay? I'm pretty sure that you all know what we mean by cost, what we mean by benefit, but remember, cost is whatever that you're giving up, is the money that you're going to spend on purchasing all those items for your house. And benefit is the pleasure or the benefit that you're going to gain from spending that money, right? So whenever you are comparing these costs and benefits of your action, you are making a rational choice. But again, remember, our decisions at the end of the day will be different. Let me just show you an example because you've been through this cost and benefit analysis when you became a Lone Star college student. Okay, I'm pretty sure that you all discussed the cost and benefit of coming to Lone Star with your friends and family, right? So you talked about what you can gain from becoming a Lone Star student and what are you going to lose, your cost, right? Probably the benefit for you was education, obviously. It was the distance. If you live in Cyprus, probably Sci-Fair is very close to home. Um, Smaller classes, because we do offer face-to-face classes. And if you've been on campus and if you took any face-to-face class, you see that the environment is really friendly. We have smaller um, classes, a lot of interaction between students and faculty is going on. So these are all benefits. It's cheaper compared to universities, right? And there are obviously some costs, like the money that you spend on textbook, tuition, and gas, all of these, your time, they are all costs, right? So you did that cost benefit analysis with your friends and family, right? For you who are taking this class, who became a college student, the benefits were greater than cost. That's why you are here right now, right? So you made that rational choice. The result from your cost and benefit analysis was becoming a Lone Star college student. But I like also to mention something here, that if you have a friend who is not a college student, it does not mean that his or her decision was not rational, okay? For that person, perhaps the costs were greater than benefits. That's why he decided not to become a college student, not coming to college at all, because the costs were greater than benefit. But as long as that person is comparing the cost and benefit, he or she is making rational choice. Makes sense? So it doesn't mean because you are a college student, you make that rational choice. You made a rational choice because you compare the costs and benefits. Remember, our incentives are different, so our decisions at the end will be different. Make sense? All right. So let's just kind of review where we started. So we are talking about the scarcity. Because we have the scarcity, it could be time, it could be money. We have to make rational choices by comparing cost and benefits, right? And remember, economics is the science that allows us to study these choices that people make when they face with the scarcity. It doesn't matter if you're a consumer, producer, politician, okay, it doesn't really matter. So the job of economics is to study all these rational choices that I'm talking about, okay? And that's how we define economics. And I put the definition actually somewhere in the lecture notes, you can find it. But since we just kind of wrapped up that discussion of rational choices, I just wanted to also talk a little bit about this definition of economics. Remember, if we did not have this scarcity that we just talked about, I would not have my degree in economics, and you were not definitely taking this class, okay? The reason that we study economics is scarcity, okay? So we talked about cost and benefit. Another important definition, remember we jump from one topic to another, is marginal cost, marginal benefit. And we talk a lot about marginal values in microeconomics, and in fact we learn about marginal benefit, marginal cost in more detail in microeconomics, and we learn actually how to calculate them in micro. In macro, not really so much, all right? But remember that when you hear marginal, it means extra, it means additional. So marginal cost is the extra cost of, let's say, producing a product, producing an additional amount of product. Marginal cost means the extra cost of doing something, okay? So it's the additional cost, okay? And marginal benefit is the additional benefit that you are gaining from doing something. If it's production, it's the additional benefit that you're gaining from producing one more unit of output, let's say. All right, and you always take an action if the marginal benefit of your action is greater than the marginal cost. Okay, so you did that rational choice, the example that we just discussed. You made that rational decision making by comparing cost and benefit of coming to Lone Star College, right? The benefits were greater than cost, so you became a college student, right? Now you decide, you're thinking if you should stay another semester with Lone Star College or not, or if you should take an extra course here at Lone Star Sci-Fair. Right now, in this example, you are going to compare the marginal cost with marginal benefit, right? The marginal cost will be the extra cost of taking extra class or extra semester that you're going to stay, and the marginal benefit will be the extra benefit you are gaining from taking another class here. If the marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost, you are going to take that extra class here with us, or you're going to stay another semester with us. If marginal cost is greater than marginal benefit, you probably won't do that. You go get a job, or you transfer to a four-year university. Makes sense? So whenever you say marginal, we're talking about additional, all right? Another important definition here we have is opportunity cost, and I actually made a separate video on how we calculate opportunity cost using the production possibilities model that I will explain briefly at the end of probably this video, okay? But since I'm just showing you all the lecture notes here, let me just briefly tell you what the opportunity cost is about. Opportunity cost, and because we're going to use this definition to calculate opportunity cost later. So opportunity cost is the is something that you give up to gain something else. So whenever we talk about opportunity cost, we are talking about a trade-off between the two choices that you have. Let's say you want to go to work and you are thinking if you should wear a white shirt or if you should wear your blue shirt, okay? The opportunity cost of wearing your white shirt is the blue shirt that you are giving up. Makes sense? Or the opportunity, or you're thinking about if you should brew your own coffee at home, or you should get your coffee from Starbucks, okay? So the opportunity cost of brewing your own coffee at home, that's something that you gain, right? Is the coffee from Starbucks that you're giving up. Makes sense? So opportunity cost is something that you are giving up to gain something else, all right? And we will learn how to calculate it in the future in the other video, okay? I'm not going to talk about it here. Definitely go to week 1 and find that video, all right? You will get some questions on the midterm exam and final exam about opportunity cost, how we calculate opportunity cost. All right. The next thing is economics that I already defined it for you. Remember, we have two branches of economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics. Again, I put the definition somewhere in the notes, but since we're talking about economics, let me briefly tell you what micro and macro are about. So microeconomics is focused on the choices. Remember, economics is all about choices, right? So microeconomics is about the choices that businesses, firms, and individuals make in the economy. And macroeconomics is about the choices that a country, a nation, a government basically make when it comes to scarcity, okay? But remember that microeconomics and macroeconomics are completely, totally related, all right? And because the decisions that individuals make can impact the nation's economy, right? The macroeconomic, and the decisions that the government and the whole nation is making can impact your lives as an individual, right? So they are related. The next thing that we're going to talk about in this chapter is what economies, what economies basically do, okay? So as you can tell by how we define economics, you can tell me the first thing that economists do is to study the choices that we make, which is absolutely correct. That's one important thing that economists do. And based on these choices that we make as an individual or as businesses or as a nation, the economists can have some predictions about the future, right? So the main thing that economists basically do is to look into the society, to look into the economy, and basically see what's going on. They observe things in the economy. Okay, that's the very first thing that they do, and they ask questions. Okay, for instance, they see that the interest rate is going down during pandemic. Okay, they ask themselves, okay, why it's happening? Why the interest rate is going down? Is it because of recession? Is it because of inflation rate? Is it because of the high unemployment rate we have? Okay, so they start asking why it's happening, why the interest rate is going down. Or if you're curious to know the answer to why the interest rate is going down, let me just briefly tell you that the reason is because of the Federal Reserve as a central bank of United States actions that the interest rate is just going down. Okay, because they want to keep the economy rolling. They want to motivate us as individuals, business owners to borrow money, to spend money, because if people start spending money, investing money in the economy, that's the fastest way for us to kind of recover from recession. Okay. All right. That was just a side note. So remember, they observe things, they ask questions, and they try to answer, to provide answers, to find answers to what's happening around us. Okay, to see why and to basically understand what's happening in the economy. They are coming with different hypotheses, like what I just gave you as example. The hypothesis would be, is it because of the unemployment rate, high unemployment rate? Is it because of recession? Is it because of the Federal Reserve actions? So these are all hypotheses, okay? To answer basically their hypothesis and to prove their hypothesis, to find answers for their hypothesis or to prove their hypothesis, they start to collect some data, test their data, and if they can prove their hypothesis, they can come up with economic principle or economic fact. Then we can use these economic principles, economic facts to kind of predict future. Okay, so that's basically the steps that economists take to come up with the economic theories and economic models that we're going to study in this class. Make sense? Remember, to come up with these economic principles and economic facts, economists make lots and lots of assumptions. And you will see that starting even this chapter, we're going to make lots of assumptions for every economic model, economic theory that we're going to discuss. And you can always be skeptical about these assumptions, but remember that economists make these assumptions to make basically these economic principles understandable and kind of easy. They're trying to make them easy for us to understand, okay? But you can always be skeptical, okay? And that's probably one of the reasons that economists never ever agree, because the economists actually have different assumptions, okay, when it comes to economic models, okay? But anyhow, we have lots of assumptions. We make lots of assumptions in our economic theories. We like to generalize things in economics. We use math. We use graphs. We like to visualize things in economics, as we will do here in this chapter when it comes to budget line and production possibility curves. So these are kind of some of the tools that economists do, and economists use to come up with these economic facts. I already defined micro and macro. Um, Another important topic before I talk about budget line and PPC is about positive economics, normative economics. Remember, we jump from one topic to another topic, so I'm touching different things in this chapter, okay? And one of the questions that actually you will get definitely for the midterm exam is about positive economics and normative economics. There are two statements that we have in economics. They're called positive and normative. Positive economics or positive statements are basically facts, okay? You can test them. They are testable. There's no value judgment attached to these positive statements. And I'm going to show you an example in a second. Normative economics, however, are not facts. You're not able to test them. You can agree or disagree with normative economics or normative statements. They do have value judgments. Okay, so let me show you two examples. So let's say number one, lower interest rate can increase the housing prices. This is a positive economics because you can test it. You can collect some data on interest rate, some data on housing prices, and test this statement. So it's positive, okay? Look at the second one. The Federal Reserve should decrease interest rate this year. It is not a fact. This one is not testable. So you can either agree or disagree with this statement. So this statement is normative. So for the midterm exam, I will give you one or two statements, and then I will ask you to tell me if it's normative or positive. And it's really easy. If you can test it, if it's a fact, it's positive. If you can just agree or disagree and it's not testable, is normative. All right. Okay. So hopefully you're still following me. If you're tired, take a little break because now I'm going to talk about budget line. Okay. All right. So remember at the beginning of this chapter, we talked about the scarcity. Okay. The budget line is the model that tells us how consumers or buyers deal with scarcity that they have, which is budget, which is money. Okay. So we have limited amount of money that we make, right, throughout a month or year, and this model basically tells us how we're going to spend that money. This budget line model tells us how we allocate our limited budget. Okay, that's one thing that we all do. You have limited money, and then you say, okay, I'm going to pay this much for my mortgage or rent. I'm paying this much for my tuition, this much for my health insurance, this much for my grocery, right? And other stuff that probably you have, right? Other expenses that you have. So you already know basically how this budget line works, okay, as a buyer, as a consumer. So the budget line basically tells us how we allocate this limited money that we make. Since we're going to visualize everything in economics, we're going to make a big assumption here for our budget line. We're going to assume that our consumers can purchase only two products because we are going to draw our budget line in a two-dimension graph, okay? So we're going to assume that our buyers can purchase only DVDs and books, but remember that in real life, there are thousands of goods and services that you purchase as a buyer. The concept will be the same if even you expand your purchases to more than two products, but drawing the budget line in a three-dimension, four-dimension graph is really hard. So that's why we make this big assumption. Remember, we make assumptions in the economics, okay? So the budget line basically tells us and shows us how we allocate our limited budget among the two products that we purchase, okay? So our budget here is $120 in this example. You can spend this money on DVDs or books. DVDs are $20, books are $10. And when you will build and draw your budget line, you want to make sure that you spend all of your money. And if you look at this table on left, you can see the different ways that you can spend this money. And we're going to use all these numbers actually to draw the budget line on the right hand side of this slide. So you can look at the table. So you can spend all of your money on DVDs. You can purchase 6 DVDs, and remember, each DVD is $20. So 6 times 20 is 120. So you're spending all of your money on DVD. So definitely you do not have any money for book. So 6 and 0 is one way for you to spend your money, your $120. Or you can go to the second line and you can spend your money buying 5 DVDs and 2 books. So 5 times 20 is 100, 2 times 10 is 20, 100 plus 20, you're spending all of your money, which is 120. So you kind of figured out how this table basically works, right? So you are going to use all these combinations of DVDs and books we have in this table, and you are going to find them on this little diagram we have on the right hand side of this slide. And it really doesn't matter where you're putting your book, where you're putting your DVDs, on X or Y, the result will be the same. You will still get a smooth and linear budget line anyways, okay? But you are going to find all these points to get your budget line, okay? So basically you are going to find, let's say, 6 DVDs right here and 0, so that's 1 point here. And you have 5 DVDs, which is right here, 2 books, so that's my second point here. And then when you find all these points, all these combinations of DVDs and books, you can connect them to get your linear budget line, okay? Something that you probably remember how to draw a line in, I don't know, high school, middle school. So hopefully you all remember how you can get that. If now you look at the graph, if you have any question, definitely let me know. But I'm assuming that it's easy to draw a straight line. Now let's look at the graph. So as you can see, all these combinations of DVDs and books are located on our blue budget line here. All these points with the limited money we have, $120, and the given prices are all affordable. They're all, as we call them, are attainable, as well as any point inside the budget line. The only difference between the points inside the budget line and points on the budget line is that inside the budget line, you are not spending the $120 you have. Let's say you can purchase 2 books and 2 DVDs, and you'll be somewhere inside the budget line, right? It is affordable, this combination of 2 books, 2 DVDs, and you're saving some money, right? So also points inside your budget line, these points are also attainable, affordable with the money that you have. But any point outside, but remember, to build and to draw the budget line, you don't want to save anything. You have to spend all of your money to get this smooth, linear budget line, all right? And also any point outside the budget line is unattainable. You cannot afford, let's say, purchasing 6 books, 6 DVDs, because you do not have enough money. But remember, you can always change the location of your budget line. If you have more money, you can shift your budget line outward to the right, okay? If you lose your job, if you lose this $120, your budget line will move inward, okay? Move leftward, okay? So you can if the prices changes, again, you can change the location of the budget line, all right? As you can see, budget line is a boundary between these combinations of DVDs and books that you can afford and those combinations of books and DVDs that you cannot afford, okay? So that's pretty much about the budget line. So as I mentioned earlier, the budget line basically shows us how consumers, buyers, individuals can deal with scarcity, Okay. The second model we have here is called production possibilities model, which is all about, again, scarcity, but this time we're more focused on production side of the economy. The production possibilities model tells us how the producers deal with the scarcity, okay? For the budget line, our limited source was your income, right? Was the budget, income, money. Here, however, for production, for producers or for the production possibilities model, we have limited resources like land, labor, capital, the management. They are all limited. They are all scarce. Our producers cannot hire as many workers as they want. They cannot hire any office they want because they have limited budget, right? We have limited natural resources. They cannot use as many resources, as many capital as they want. All right. So production possibilities model basically tells us how the producers are able to produce different goods and services when they face with scarcity. Okay, just like the budget line that we made assumptions of having, let's say, two products only, we're going to make some assumptions also here for production possibilities model to kind of understand it better. And again, we're going to draw the production possibilities curve, or production possibilities frontiers. So definitely we need to make some assumption because we are, again, going to visualize it. Okay. So again, we have that two kind of product assumption we had for the budget line. Okay. We're talking about limited resources. So our factors of production, our resources, our inputs are limited. So we have limited number of labor, capital, the land is fixed, the technology that we're going to use is fixed, and also we're going to make sure that we are using all the resources. So we have this full employment also assumption here. Okay. We're going to follow the example of the textbook. So the two goods that we have for this example are pizza and robots. Okay. And I did a separate video on how we can draw production possibilities curve or our production possibilities frontier, PPC or PPF. So definitely watch that. Let me just show you, these are different options that we have, or different combinations of pizza and robot that we are gonna basically use to draw our PPC, just like we did for budget line. Again, it doesn't really matter where you put your pizza. Is it on the x-axis or y-axis when you draw the production possibilities curve? It doesn't matter, just like the budget line. So this is what your basically textbook drew. And so basically we found all these combinations of pizza and robot, and then if you connect all these points you can get your PPC. So this red curve here, sorry, the blue curve we have here is our production possibilities curve, or PPC. Okay, so if you kind of compare it with the budget line, we had this linear budget line with a line, with a straight line. Production possibilities curve, however, is non-linear. Rarely we have a linear production possibilities curve. It is not a discussion for this class. So 99.99% of time, the production possibilities curve is non-linear. So that's why you have this kind of bowed out shape for PPC. And the other reason is that the opportunity cost changes along this PPC. That makes it kind of non-linear, all right? And if you look at the graph, again, it's very similar to budget line. Again, this PPC shows us the combination of robot and pizza that this economy is able to produce, given the resources and technology. And the combinations of robot and pizza that we are not able to produce. So again, it's a boundary between the attainable and unattainable combinations of robot and pizza. Another important thing that we should also mention when it comes to production possibilities curve is the efficiency. Okay, so we know that points on the PPC and inside the PPC are attainable. We are able to produce them, obviously, with the limited resources and technology that we have. But remember, we also had this full employment assumption at the beginning of this PPC model. that tells us that we have to use all the resources. So if you pick a point inside the PPC, let's say one pizza and four robot, it's inside the PPC. It is attainable. You can produce it. But remember, this model is about production, okay? So if you stick to this combination of one and four, one pizza and four robot, obviously you are not going to make that much money compared to point D on the PPC, where you are producing four robots and three pizza. Because remember, you are a producer, you are greedy, you want to make money, and you are able to actually make more money if you pick a point like point D instead of producing one pizza and four robot, because you already hired workers to produce D. You already purchased capital, so you have all the resources. So why not using them? Why not expanding? Why not producing more, at least more pizza? You can produce the same amount of robots, but you can make more money by selling more pizza, producing more pizza. Makes sense? So as a producer, you never ever pick a point inside PPC, because that point is not just efficient for you. You are not using all the resources that you have. You can make more money, you can produce more if you pick a point on the PPC. All right, of course you can ask, okay, because only points on the PPC are efficient, so you can ask me, okay, all the points on the PPC are efficient, which point I should pick at the end of the day? The answer is in chapter 3. Remember, you were just talking about one side of the economy, production, right? But you are producing this pizza and robot for your customers, for your buyers. So which point you pick on the PPC depends on your demanders, depends on your buyers, what they want. So if you are a smart producer, you are going to study the market, you are going to figure out what your buyers want, and depending on their demand, something that we will define in chapter 3, depending on what your buyers want, you are going to change your production from one point to another point on the PPC. If your consumers are crazy about your robot, so it's better for you to push your resources, push your factors of production toward the robot production line, and focus on producing more robots. Maybe you are going to pick point B or A. If they hate your robot, they love your pizza, you're going to shift to pizza, producing more pizza. So you are going to shift toward point D, toward point E. Makes sense? So as long as you are on the PPC, you are safe, you are producing only efficient combinations of robots and pizza. As long as you are inside PPC, you are wasting your resources. And remember, any point outside the PPC is unattainable for you. You need to have more resources to produce point W in this example. And just like budget line, remember that definitely you can change the location of your PPC. You can shift your PPC outward to the right or to the left. If recession is happening, the PPC will shift inward. Our production will go down during recession time. So you have to shift it leftward. If you have more resources, if you have better technology, if you have the same amount of resources, but you can improve the efficiency of your resources. Let's say you have the same number of workers working for you, but you send them to on-job training, you send them to college and university, so you can improve their productivity and efficiency, so you are able actually to produce more. So you can definitely shift your PPC, okay? Just like budget line. All right. So that's pretty much it for chapter 1. I hope that you find this video helpful. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.